If you don't have players on the field with the right skills, you're going to have a tough time winning. The same goes for your business. Indeed is a fast, simple way to make sure you're hiring MVPs. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/BlueWire.
Wanting to get a real shower, not a Gatorade bath, because I want to get focused on Alabama. They got a 5-6 hour head start, so I'm not. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not interested in celebrating that. We'll look back on that win, and that'll be great. But we're focused on the task ahead. That's the objective, and that's what our guys. They worked their tail off for 3 to 4 weeks to get this opportunity, and it was a one-game season, and now it's another one-game season. I'm not focused on Gatorade baths.
Josh, do you support some kind of mandatory cooling off period for injured players before returning to the game, or is that something it's just a reality of the sport in this era?
You know what's crazy is the officials wanted that tonight. I thought that was pretty comical that they came up and said that to me.
That feeling of tomorrow morning and you're University of Arkansas and you're in our state Arkansas, and you're proud of the Razorbacks, that's what I felt whenever, they were giving KJ his trophy and the team ours, and to be Outback Bowl champions with 9 wins. I'm really, really proud of our team with what we've accomplished. 2 of the teams that beat us also were pretty good last night, so we play in a heck of a league, and I'm proud to be, and I said it a long time ago, we're in the SEC West, right where Arkansas belongs, and we're starting to prove that.
I mean, the anticipation of the mayo bath, and then I got hammered in the back of the head by the cooler before they dumped it on me, so I may have a concussion from that, and then on top of that I got the mayo, and it was awful, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm so glad I got to experience because we won, but it was even more awful than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. I mean, these pants and I changed shirts, but it's I mean, I got mayo in my pockets, and I'll be getting mayo off of me for months.
Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Where's that beer at?
Oh man, you know what? I'm fighting COVID still. I'm still dealing with this Tennessee loss, New Year's resolutions, everything. I said, you know what? Let me just hold off on the beer for a little bit. Let me get my body right. Then we could dig in. I was afraid if I came in here in a drunken stupor, I'd start talking about the ACC refs again, and I didn't want to do that. So it was a good weekend for SEC football. Not all the programs, but Mike, I'm doing well. How about yourself, brother?
Oh, man, I could not be doing – well, I was about to say I couldn't be doing better. We'll get to that Tennessee game. If not for that, I would be doing better. But beyond that, I'm doing great, Shane, because we got us, as predicted, an SEC National Championship game, which gives us 10 more days of great content here coming up before the long-dreaded offseason in the SEC. So let's just start right there. Let's start with the good news, Shane, because after, 4 or 5 days of everybody kicking the SEC overrated, SEC bias, SEC can't play the damn game of football, then the Georgia Bulldogs just destroyed Michigan, and Alabama, wiped the floor with Cincinnati, who probably shouldn't even be in the college football playoff to start with.
Right.
But let's start with that Georgia-Michigan game, Shane, because I think that's the one that kind of, we're in some text threads, Shane, not you or I, but we got buddies in there saying, well, I really like Michigan in this game. And we're sitting here saying, what in the hell? Do we just miss the last 3.5 months of the season where Georgia was dominant? And that was the Georgia we got here in the Orange Bowl, 34-11 win. And, Shane, Michigan, their offensive line won the Offensive Line of the Year award. I thought these were some good offensive linemen. Hell no. 88 rushing yards, a lot of that in junk time. The quarterback that I told you was terrible, he was terrible. 106 passing yards, 2 interceptions. And then the mailman, Stetson Bennett, probably played the best game of his life, Shane. 310 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. And, this is a guy that we've given credit to all season, but this was his best job, I think, all year. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. They opened a game with 5 straight scoring possessions, including a touchdown right out the gate. Jim Harbaugh, Michigan, won the coin toss. They said, we'll kick to Georgia. Well, that was a hell of a mistake because once Georgia went up, they never relented. And, I mean, this was just an ass whipping, and Georgia controlled it from the opening kickoff. What was your thoughts on Georgia just making easy work of Michigan?
Yeah, I was under the impression that Michigan had a couple defensive ends or something. I don't know. That was the storyline, wasn't it? I mean, they painted a pretty picture. Michigan's going to come in there. They're going to give Georgia everything they got. These 2 defenders, oh, my God, they're the top 10 NFL draft picks. This, blah, blah, blah. And about 10 minutes in, I'm like, this ain't even going to be a ball game, mate. Georgia just came in there, got their job done, man. And I think the storyline for me was Stetson Bennett, brother. I give him a hard time. Gave him a hard time after that Alabama game. But, what he was able to do with those legs made those defensive ends not a threat at all. Some of those plays, there was that one in particular where you think he's getting sacked. Next thing you know, he's running for 20 yards. It's just this team was playing balls out. And Stetson – what I liked about it is just his patience in the pocket too. I mean, there was a couple of times some people were breathing down his neck, and he was able to capitalize down the field. I mean, some dimes. So that's what I like. Just the poise that I saw from Stetson. This defense did not disappoint. Yes, those the Michigan mobsters that I saw a video of him coming in. They had shirts that said "Run the damn ball," and then it says 39 yards later. Oh man, Michigan didn't belong on the field with the Georgia Bulldogs, and it was quite obvious, especially there at half, Mike.
Yeah, without a doubt, Georgia 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, the 2 interceptions we mentioned. I mean, they just destroyed them, like we said. And this was a prove-it game because, coming after that Alabama game, a lot of people had questions. Maybe this Georgia defense overrated. The same unit everyone was hyping up, greatest defense of all time. They clearly didn't look like it in the SEC championship. They found a way to bounce back. Stetson Bennett, like you said, story of the game. Let's not overlook the fact Brock Bowers, Shane. I mean, at this point, we're not amazed by him anymore, but my goodness, Shane, when he takes the field, I know he's a true freshman, but he looks like he's ready for the NFL right now. Too bad for him. He's got to wait 2 more years. You know what? But, I mean, he was making plays left or right. Alabama did a good job kind of, for the most part, I wouldn't even say corralling him, but they just kind of covered. They did their best covering him. It looked like Michigan, maybe they were just unable to guard him, but he had his way in this one. James Cook had himself a hell of a day. And when they utilized Cook in the passing game like they did in this matchup, it's just another weapon for Stetson Bennett and company. And, man, this is the championship. When we watched the SEC championship, we thought, there's clearly no teams better than Alabama, Georgia. And I'm just thankful that we're getting it. You know what?
Yeah. I mean, this is like we had to do this. We had to get this over with. It's like when you look at the Michigan, when you look at the Cincinnati, it's just like, okay, yes, we have to do this, but then let's get down to it. The SEC championship was the best game of the year. The national championship is going to be a repeat, and these 2 teams are playing the best football they've played in a long time. So I think it's going to be a monumental game, and it starts with the rebound from Georgia, because a lot of people thought that they were going to be down. A lot of people thought that they could have a little hangover, that Michigan could give them a fit. But, man, I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm walking away from that game saying, you know what, Georgia's back. There's a reason that they are favored to win the national championship right now. That front was nasty. I mean, they were thin at defensive backs, and it didn't matter because they didn't have time to get it down the field. So there's little things like that. The running game, the way they were able to move the chains, and they didn't show too much. That's another thing. I was afraid that this game was going to be, we've seen some of this in college football playoffs, like the Oklahoma when they played against Oklahoma. they had to show everything. So there was nothing to hide coming into a national championship game. It felt like they didn't need to do that this week, and I think that's beneficial, especially for the time when they play Bama again.
Yeah, maybe my favorite thing from the game, Shane, I don't know if you caught this, but they were trying to dump the Gatorade, the bucket, on Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
He turned around and says, hell no, this is not what we're playing for. This is not what we're celebrating. We still got one more. So,
Come on now.
He's bringing that killer instinct. We all know who is the demon, the Freddy Krueger, the Jason Voorhees, if you will, that they have got to conquer to get to that national championship.
Hey, Kirby, you guys held Michigan without a sack. Obviously, they have some really good pass rushers. And then you guys kind of flipped the script from the Bama game with 4 sacks of your own. What was the key to doing that?
I think we practice against good rushers each day. Jamari and Warren, they listen to everybody talk about those guys rushing, and Jamari and Warren are good pass protectors. They do a nice job, and when they don't, or they give up they give up penetration, Stetson did a good job avoiding. There's a couple times we got beat, even on the touchdown pass. I thought Stetson did an incredible job of getting the ball in the air. We did not block the edge rusher, and he came scot-free, and Stetson got the ball out to James, which was our only, I think, score of the second half. So tremendous job there. Defensively, we generated some better rush. And again, we have to be able to do that to be successful. Was it a magic potion, Mark? I don't think it was a magic potion. We called a lot of the same calls, we called against Alabama, but the quarterback probably didn't escape as good as Alabama's did, and we finished a little better.
Yeah. Hey, Kirby, what sort of happened there with the Gatorade bath at the end, and how quickly do you turn ahead to Alabama now?
Yeah, I was wanting to get a real shower, not a Gatorade bath, because I want to get focused on Alabama. They got a 5-6 hour head start. So I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not interested in celebrating that. We'll look back on that win, and that'll be great, but we're focused on the task ahead. That's the objective. And that's what our guys, they worked their tail off for 3 to 4 weeks to get this opportunity. And it was a 1-game season, and now it's another 1-game season. I'm not focused on Gatorade baths.
Kirby, obviously, as that game gets out of hand, they're not really running the ball. But in the early going, is it any added juice for your defense for a team to face a team that really wants to run the ball? And they say that, they came out early before the game with shirts that said "run the damn ball" on it.
I don't know. I mean, there's a little chip on the shoulder of those defensive guys. I mean, their offense coordinators, the Royals Award over Coach Lanning, who we think did a hell of a job, and their offensive line, Joe Moore Award, and you know what? There's somebody that made that decision that's a lot smarter than me. But we got a hell of an offensive line too, and our guys played with a chip on their shoulder tonight, as DK did on defense, and all the defensive guys did, and they were kind of backed up by a great offensive effort.
Kirby, this is the first time this year your team has had to bounce back from a defeat and face some questions. I'm just wondering if, what this game proved to you and if it answered any questions that you might have had about this team.
I really never had questions. I hate to say that, but I never had questions about this team. The resiliency, the bounce back, the amount of character. I've seen it all year. We didn't play well, and we turned the ball over and didn't get any turnovers and played poor in the red area. I mean, like you can list all the things we did in the last game. That's all our kids have heard about for 3 weeks. Our focus has been on, okay, what can we get better at? Where can we turn our energy? Because it does no good to look backwards. It only does good to look forward. And who is our opponent? We always say you can't let a loss beat you twice. And we didn't let that happen today. And now we get to focus our energy on a really good football team. And that's where we'll turn our head and attention now.
That's what Kirby Smart has got on his mind. So let's get to that other one, Shane. Again, just a complete demolition here. Alabama beats Cincinnati 27-6. And I never seen a playoff game or national championship type game like this, Shane, where Alabama comes out 10 straight runs. They just had no respect for Cincinnati. And then they're on, I think it was the 8-yard line. They score a passing touchdown. So 10 out of 10 run. Then you get a walk-in touchdown. And from that point, man, I got to be honest. I feel like, Bryce Young didn't have his best game. I feel like Alabama played their maybe B- game, and yet they destroyed Cincinnati because Cincinnati was not a threat. They could do nothing on offense, and they couldn't stop Alabama. And how about this stat, Shane? Brian Robinson, 204 rushing yards for Alabama. we all know the list of Alabama great running backs: Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, T.J. Yeldon. You know, you go on and on and on. Alabama's never had a running back to rush for 204 yards in a bowl game until now. So credit Brian Robinson there for his heroics. But at the end of the day, man, this felt like a Notre Dame, insert of a joke of a team, because this was a formality for Alabama, just making quick work of Cincinnati. And I did think it was hilarious. One more thing to go back to Kirby Smart. You know, he was asked in the postgame, Shane, about moving on to the national championship. He said, "Well, hell, I'm a little upset because Alabama got a 3-hour head start on us." So I was like, "Oh my goodness!" I mean, these are the two juggernauts of the sport. You know what?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, this is the same deal. This just felt like Alabama just put their hard hat on, went to work. That's it. Nothing fancy, nothing special. Just go out there, hand the damn ball off. I was watching this game with my wife, and we were watching these guys doing the coin toss, and she goes, "Oh my God, look how much bigger Alabama is." She's right. That all you have to do is just lean downhill on these guys, and that's exactly what Alabama was able to do and walk away from. Didn't have to show much. But I will tell you, Mike, there was a couple of things in this game that I don't want to say red flags or anything like that, but I think needs to obviously get corrected, because I guarantee Georgia's all over this film. Cincinnati found ways to get pressure. Cincinnati is not as athletic as Alabama for sure, but they did find unique, interesting ways to get pressure and keep Bryce unsteady in the pocket. I don't know if you saw that or if maybe I'm just overreacting or just taking little tiny things out, but it did feel a little bit like Alabama's going to have to, get back to the film room. They can't just walk on the field and beat Georgia like they did a couple of weeks ago.
Right. Yeah, and that's easier said than done, but that's what we had seen leading up to the SEC championship. Auburn in the Iron Bowl. LSU was another one. Texas A&M. They were able to get after Bryce Young, and that's the key to slowing them down, not letting them sit back there and pick you apart. Now, they did a masterful job of getting the ball out of Bryce's hands quick in that SEC championship, but that's going to be the challenge, Shane, because, Bryce Young, he deserved to win the Heisman, but in my mind, he won it, at the end of the Iron Bowl and by his performance in the SEC championship. And if he has another heroic performance against Georgia, they're going to beat Georgia in the national championship game. So, I hate to be that simplistic, but, the game is probably going to come down to that. I mean, who wins that edge? Can Georgia find ways to manufacture pass rush that they were unable to do in the SEC championship game? And can Alabama protect their quarterback? Can they get it out of the ball out of his hands quickly? And man, I think that's the key to the matchup there. And you already teased it, Shane. The Bulldogs favored. It opened by 2.5 points. It's already up to 3. Georgia favored by 3. Games in Indianapolis. Thoughts on that one, Shane? Because, ooh, man, Saban, he's eating up that yummy rat poison right now, isn't he?
Absolutely. Well, fool me once, shame on me. That's what Georgia should be saying. You should throw all that out. This is a pick 'em, Mike. This is two juggernauts going at it in Indianapolis, and it's going to make out to be one of the greatest national championship games ever. We got one of the best offense against the best defense. And then on the flip side, you're like, well, Georgia's offense really took a couple steps forward, I felt like, this week, just as Alabama's defense did. So it's just like these guys cannot become more mirrored opponents than they are right now, and I'm looking forward to this one, brother. It's going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, obviously any win is what you want, but the way you were able to physically manhandle them, it seems up front, was that any more gratifying to see the way you guys were able to control that line?
No, I think you always want to control the line of scrimmage. I think it's always important in any game. And we were able to do that on both sides of the ball, and I think that was a big part of having success in this game. Now, we probably didn't make as many explosive plays because of that, but, it shrinks the game. You don't have to play as many plays on defense. We did a good job on 3rd down and 4th down on defense and got off the field. So So the combination of those things with a couple red area stops and being able to control the line of scrimmage up front were probably the key to being successful in this game.
With Brian Robinson, he has a running style where he doesn't shy away from contact. And it almost seems to get better after he's run over a couple guys. In terms of toughness of the team, how contagious can that be, being physical and out physical in the team?
Yeah, well, I think that's always a goal for us, is to play, with more effort, more intensity, be more physical, play with more toughness than the other team. B-Rob certainly exemplifies that in his style of play. And I think it fires up a lot of people around him when they see, a player be able to do that. And he made some tough runs tonight. He got lots of yards after first contact.
Yeah, Nick, all season it seemed like your public comments about this team were very positive and forward-looking, even after like the A&M loss or some close games, or maybe there was some negativity with the fan base. Why did this particular team need that from you?
Well, I think we're a relatively young team. We've got a lot of young players that are out there playing. I think when you have success, the previous season, which, the guys that did come back were very successful, it really took a long time for us to sort of develop the chemistry, on this team from a leadership standpoint, because we had some great leaders on last year's team. So even though guys have leadership qualities, they don't really see that as their role, because it didn't have to be their role in the past. But we've had some guys really step up for us and do a really good job. And I think, I don't want to call it nurturing, but I felt like, we needed to do that with this team, that, just getting on these guys all the time was not going to help their confidence. It was not going to help the young players develop. And, then we started to develop some of these internal, intangible things that really helped us grow as a team.
All right, Shane, we've been getting asked about this left.
All right,
and
that's
right.
it. All right, see you guys. Good night.
I was at this game. I rewatched it this morning so I could see the telecast version of it. Cousin Shane was not too happy with some of the announcers, so I wanted to see what he had to say. But, hey, once again, Shane, kicking the nuts number 2 for me here, because Purdue wins the Music City Bowl 48-45. And yes, maybe the worst officiated game I have seen all season. And yes, that was a touchdown at the end of the game. Tennessee, you could argue, deserved to win this football game. But at the same time, Shane, I hate to be this guy, but I ain't putting it all on the ref, Shane, because the defense was abysmal at times. I think the way Tennessee ended the first half was killer. They actually stopped Purdue. They got the ball back. They had a little bit of time. Then there was a turnover that was very poorly done there, and then Purdue scored. So, you're talking 10 points right before first half. That was a killer. And the biggest one to me, Shane, and this is why Hendon Hooker should be coming back, because I think Josh Heupel took the blame for this, but to me, it's on the quarterback, 10 out of 10. They had 17 seconds left in this ball game, Shane. They had 3 timeouts in their pocket. They needed about 10 yards to get in a manageable field goal range, and they threw basically 2 Hail Marys, and then Hendon Hooker ran it for 4 yards. So you're talking 17 seconds, 3 timeouts, you get 4 yards, and you're trying a field goal that's out of the kicker's range, and that's why Tennessee lost the football game. As much as the refs suck, and I was sitting there chanting it with everybody else, but, Tennessee had their opportunities. They were up 21-7 against a Purdue team missing some of their best players. No excuse for losing this game, in my opinion.
That's it, Mike. And I'm glad we put a little distance in this game, because if you would have caught me right after, obviously I was on the I'm still hot because that was a touchdown, clearly. Yeah. And, I watched a play that was floating around with Will Levis at Kentucky getting a first down, with momentum. And it's just like, why is this okay, but a touchdown in overtime isn't? You know what I'm saying? It's just a game should not be decided by refs at all. They should be a neutral party in this thing. And it felt like they clearly were a part of the script, man. And it wasn't just this. It was some of these dumb pass interference calls. It was just nonstop terrible, man. It was terrible calls. So, but like you said, it shouldn't have come down to that. I think Tennessee put together one of the worst quarters in their history of college football in the second quarter, Mike. They gave Purdue so many opportunities to not only get back in this game, but take the lead. You know, this was a Tennessee ball club that was having their way with Purdue and could have continued to it, but they kept messing up. They kept messing up on both sides of the ball, mainly on defense. Like you said, it felt like times there was just not even defenders back there. You know what I'm saying? I would have rather have put 11 in the box and tried to blitz them. It's like, what are we even doing here? So there were some bad plays on both sides, but Mike, the fact of the matter is Tennessee was a better ball club. Shouldn't have lost this game. And it's going to stick in my craw for a while because I think of some bad games. I think you want to point fingers. I think that's me. I always want to point. I want to do the fake injuries. I'm pointing fingers. The refs, I'm pointing fingers. What else is there? Just I don't know. Just. Well, it shouldn't have happened.
Before we got on the line, Shane's pointing a finger at me. All of Vol Nation can. I went to 2 Tennessee games this year. Ole Miss and Purdue. So I may never go to a Tennessee game again just for you, cousin Shane.
You may be banned. Yeah, seriously, I'm telling you, I'm that guy. You know, I jinx everything's so. But anyway, I don't want to fall down this rabbit hole. Thank God we didn't get on right after for Emergency Podcast because I'd still be talking about it, brother. But the truth be told, I'm proud of these boys. I'm proud of what they have accomplished. They should have won this game. I hate that, there was a lot of kids there that this is the last time they're going to play collegiate football. And for it to be damn decided by the damn stripes of the ACC, that only fuels my anger for that stupid-ass conference a little bit more, Mike. But anyway, so I don't go down that path. Congratulations to a lot of the athletes that did play because there was some hell. I'll tell you, man, Tillman, I love that kid, and he's like, there's a stat. I don't know if you remember that. I can't remember if it was a Monday Night Football game or something that was floating around, but Randy Moss had 3 catches, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, if that's what he's going to do all year next year, I'm telling you, Tennessee ball's going to be all right. We got weapons. We got to learn from this, man. We got to learn from this, and we cannot let this one game define us. Even though we should have won, Mike. We should have won it.
Well, you mentioned Cedric Tillman. There's 7 catches, 150 yards, 3 touchdowns. My goodness, the connection between him and Hendon Hooker continues to grow, and that's going to be the strength of the team next season. But let me ask you about Hendon Hooker, Shay, because, being there at the game and watching it on the telecast, it's obviously a little bit easier to see at the game. I feel like he left 2 or 3 touchdowns out on the field. I think, you mentioned the second quarter was very rough. Now, there was some heroics. I'm not trying to pile on him, but I think it's fair to say that he played, he could have played a lot better. Like it was almost an average performance, wouldn't you say?
Well, for sure, Mike. And I think as much as I can't stand Jordan sometimes, one of the things he was mentioning was when he went back-to-back plays on running the ball, he had trouble with his efficiency in the following downs. And it felt like sometimes, we didn't let him sit back there, or maybe he was told to let go. I don't know, but he had a tough time bouncing back and forth from being mobile to accurate,
Mm-hmm. Well, the main reason I wanted to say that, Shane, because my goodness, he threw for 5 touchdowns, yet I think any casual observer could tell you he had just an average game, yet, imagine Tennessee football that was the most touchdowns, Shane, that a Tennessee quarterback has thrown in a decade. Yet, that's how far this Josh Heupel offense and this system in Knoxville has come, where, we're shattering records. The offense is, outstanding to watch. It's one of the funnest in college football, yet scoring 45, I mean, that's an average day out there. So, I mean, there's a lot to like about Tennessee. And last thing, because I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but, man, they have got to work in year 2, in my mind, Shane, on closing the halves and perhaps more importantly, goal line and short yardage situations, because all season, I think back to Pitt, I think back to Ole Miss, I think back to obviously this bowl game that just happened. This offense comes up short in the red zone too many times for as effective as they are, and it cost them a couple ball games this year.
Yeah. Yeah, that and momentum. It feels like I hate fake injuries, Mike, buddy. I hate them more than anybody. But it felt like at times if this team wasn't going fast, they weren't going at all.
Mhm.
So, just being able to come out of the gates, if you have a lull, if you have time down, don't be afraid to still, play Tennessee football. It's just it felt like at times this season, and especially during this bowl game when we had some lull times, Tennessee just 3 and out, man. Let's punt the ball, and they lose the momentum. So that's the thing, being able to start quick.
Josh, did you get an explanation on Jalen's play there, that fourth down play? Did they say that was forward progress and not reviewable, or what did you hear on that?
Yeah, they said the forward progress had been stopped. I don't sounded like the whistle blew after he extended the football, but
Just talk about at the end of regulation going for the long field goal, confidence level and chasing that situation.
Yeah, right on the edge there, and Coach Eck believed in it, but the biggest thing is Chase did too, and he had the look in his eye where he wanted the opportunity to go drain it, and shoot, he gave it a hell of a run. Disappointed we didn't get the ball just a little bit closer for him. That's on me.
Josh, you coach enough football. I'm sure you're going to be on the bad end of some weird calls. This late in the game, this late in the season, how do you make sure the message is perspective and not too much emotion?
I mean, I think you sit back and you think about the things that you have a chance to control, and at the end of the day, when you're in a competitive environment, you got to control your controllables, and that's it. And there's some things that we handled really well tonight. There's some things that we didn't, and that's myself, our coaching staff, it's our players. It's all of us getting better. And, you walk in the locker room, and you can see it when they walked off the field. It hurts, right? And shoot, if it ever doesn't, then you got the wrong group of guys inside the building. They're prideful, they care. I think that's shown up in the way they competed tonight, but it's shown in the growth of over the last 11 months. And so, always come from a place of passion and love, and be careful about the emotion of anything that's going on, and just, think before you speak. And I'm proud of these guys, man. I really am. Disappointed in tonight, and the journey is way more important than the destination in some respects. I mean? Not that we don't want the right destination either, right? But, man, this journey's been awesome with these guys.
Josh, do you support some kind of mandatory cooling off period for injured players before returning to the game, or is that something it's just a reality of the sport in this era?
What's crazy is the officials wanted that tonight. I thought that was pretty comical that they came up and said that to me.
If you don't have players on the field with the right skills, whether it's breakaway speed or elite playmaking ability, you're going to have a tough time winning. The same goes for your business. Indeed is a fast, simple way to make sure you're hiring MVPs. Go to Indeed.com/BlueWire to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/BlueWire. Offer valid through March 31st. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process. Find great talent through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Indeed.com/BlueWire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
All right, Shane, moving on to some happier results here for the SEC. How about the Arkansas Razorbacks, Shane? I mean, my goodness. I mean, we've talked about it endlessly all season, the turnaround that has been made by Sam Pittman and company there in Fayetteville. They go win a January 1st game 24-10 over Penn State and basically dominated for the most part of the game. They also had a down second quarter. They were actually losing at halftime, but just completely dominated the second half. KJ Jefferson, MVP of the football game, put the team on his back, running the ball, throwing the ball. Treylon Burks was out. And that was to me at halftime, I was thinking, oh my goodness, we're in trouble here. The offense is not getting much going without Treylon Burks. Someone's got to step up. And that man was KJ Jefferson once again, someone who 24/7 Sports said it was the worst quarterback in the SEC coming into the year. He's top 3 in the SEC now that we've seen him on the field. But, man, just what a remarkable turnaround. And, 9 wins, Shane, the most in a decade for Arkansas. Year 2. What a damn game here. And what a team, man. This is a team that should be recognized as one that's really laying the foundation for years to come, and which should only be getting better there in Fayetteville. And if I'm an Arkansas fan, I'm fired up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, like you said, KJ, he did like the opposite of Antonio Brown. He like started at halftime. He just came out and said, "You know what? I'm going to take this game over." And that's why you're the vet, man. That's why you're the team captain. That's why everybody looks up to you, because he literally put the team on his shoulders, went out there and won this game. And that's what I love, man, because there was moments that I even had little seeds of doubt, the SEC's never going to win, and I'm watching this dumbass Franklin over there, man. I was like, man, we cannot have this. And it was so nice to see Arkansas come out and do Arkansas football, man. I mean, once they committed, there was no stopping them. I mean, almost 400 yards rushing. That's SEC football, brother. That's your hogs right up there. Did they make mistakes? Yes. Did they let some pressures get through? Absolutely. But when it came down to it, and you looked at talent top to bottom, it was clearly Arkansas was the more dominant team out there.
Yeah, and I know you'll love this comment, Shane, but after the game, Sam Pittman said, well, this was a lot like the Rice game. We started slow, and we just had to find our bearings and just dominate the second half. My God, he just compared Penn State to Rice, James Franklin. But, I mean, that's what it is. If Arkansas played up to their potential, like they did in the second half, they're going to dominate this opponent. That's what they did. And, yes, they just lost a generational receiver to the NFL. They're going to have guys that step up next year. But this is your bread and butter. This is what it's going to be under Sam Pittman. It's going to be dominant running performances. Your offensive line is just going to get better. KJ Jefferson is just going to get better. And the heart and soul of this team, the defense, stepped up time and time again. Bumper pool, my goodness, you see he almost decapitated Penn State quarterback Clifford on that one hit. And it was just, it was play after play after play that was coming about. And it was just, a remarkable defensive performance. Barry Odom, again, he deserves all the credit in the world for getting his team up to play. 1 or 2 blown coverages, but that was it. The rest of the time, when Penn State was given a little bit of life, the Arkansas Razorbacks forcing turnovers to shut that door on them. And, man, this just caps one of the best seasons in Arkansas history. And like I said, I think the best is yet to come for the Razorbacks.
Absolutely. Foundation's laid, brother. Arkansas's here for a long, long time. So, and it starts that with another successful bowl win. So, and it's over Penn State, man. I mean, people were crowning this team at the start of the season as a national championship contender. They ain't saying shit now, I'm proud of these boys. I'm proud of what they did. Arkansas went to work and got the victory.
It's hard, It's hard to, like I said a long time ago, I used to be one of the people in the stands, and to some people this might be a big, huge win. Some of it may be, well, it was Outback Bowl. It's not the national championship, but to me, it's the national. I mean, it's as big as you can get to our players. We've come a long way, and we are really pleased of how the Arkansas people followed us here, the folks, and I know they spent their hard-earned money to get out here, and we're so appreciative of that. But what I'm going to say, that feeling of tomorrow morning, and you're University of Arkansas, and you're in our state, Arkansas, and you're proud of the Razorbacks. That's what I felt whenever they were giving KJ his trophy and the team ours.
Coach, on one of KJ's earlier runs, he gets on the edge. He's not sliding. He's lowering his shoulder.
Yeah.
That's a fullback coming at you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is. We don't do none of that. I mean, we that ain't how we're built. I mean, you know, I earlier in the year I said, hey KJ, you can go left or right. You know, you don't. No. I got it. What'd you tell me? You had to make a statement. I mean, right early in the Texas game, man, someone like here comes the safety, and he doesn't even have to run to KJ. KJ just starts running to him. But that's a little bit of physicality of who he is, and hopefully what our team's about. Yeah, I think the best thing that he's done, obviously, he's throwing the ball better than he ever has, but it's the way the kids look at him on the team. You know, I think, you know, you can tell a leader by the way somebody looks at you a lot, and the kids look to him because they wouldn't if he wasn't tough. They wouldn't if he made a lot of excuses. They wouldn't if he's late to practice. They wouldn't. But he's none of those things. He's tough. He doesn't make excuses. He takes ownership of what he does, good and bad, and he can throw the football. And his delivery has really improved this year. And we always knew he could run. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know he could run as well as he can until the Rice game, and when he ran an option and did his little deal and then went down the sideline. So he's just really grown, but he's a better person than he is a football player. I mean, he's a great kid, and that's where your leadership usually comes from. I hope it is. You know, it is to us. I believe it is. You can kind of feel it in the crowd. You know, you can kind of feel it, and you know, we're hungry for football. Our state's hungry for football. We're a proud state, and football, and no disrespect to any other sport, football is big in the state of Arkansas at the University of Arkansas. And I think there's always folks that want more, and one of them is me. But it's over now, you know, and to be Outback Bowl champions with 9 wins, I'm really, really proud of our team with you know, what we've accomplished. You know, 2 of the teams that beat us also were pretty good last night, you know, so we play in a heck of a league, and I'm proud to be, and I said it a long time ago, we're in the SEC West right where Arkansas belongs, and we're starting to prove that.
Well, speaking of foundation being late, Shane, Kentucky, right here, another big bowl win, beats Iowa 2017 in a game, you know, they were controlling at the beginning, and then Iowa took all the momentum. It looked like the Hawkeyes were going to steal one. It was going to be a back-breaking defeat. But Wan'Dale Robinson, my goodness, Shane, I mean, he's a man amongst boys. Will Levis stepped up after a rough interception. It looked like it was going to cost Kentucky the game. They bounced back and seal the deal here with another New Year's Day bowl win for the program. Shane, the second 10-win season in the last 4 years. Just a remarkable job Mark Stoops and his coaching staff have done in Lexington. And how about this, Shane? 4 years ago, Mark Stoops never even won a bowl game. Now he's won more bowl games than any Kentucky coach in the program history. And next season, he's going to be the winningest head coach of all time. And hell, they've had Bear Bryant has been down there as their coach. So, I mean, that's just an indication of how far this program's come. But, man, this is kind of who Kentucky's been all season, Shane, where, you know, it was sloppy at times. Maybe they had to come back at times, and they're turning the ball over at inopportune times, letting teams hang around. And in Iowa, I thought they were going to score about 3 points this entire ball game. Somehow they scored late in the game to seal, to take the lead. And yet, like I said, you thought they were going to steal one, but just this Kentucky team's got too much heart, Shane, and they're just too damn tough to let a game like this slip away until the clock's at straight zeros here. And, you know, Chris Rodriguez, haven't even mentioned him, Shane, 107 yards and the game-winning touchdown. But, man, just this caps an incredible season here for Kentucky, don't you think?
Well, I think the big one on this one, Mike, is how many times do people say bowl games don't matter? And I'm watching this whole thing. This game mattered. It mattered on offense. It mattered on defense. I think it was the toughest I've ever seen Will run. It was the toughest I've ever seen Rodriguez run. You know, the energy that Robinson was putting up there, some of the gameplay. I mean, it was everything was left on the field. You saw it after the game, how emotional the players were. This was a tough fought ball game, and it was frustrating at times because it felt to me like Kentucky and Iowa were not on the same page. Iowa just found clever ways to move the chains or clever ways to create some pressure and things like that. They had almost gimmicky at times, you know, and Kentucky was just doing Kentucky football, but there at the end, you're like, oh, come on, man, don't blow this, you know? And then Kentucky, like you said, they bend, but they don't break. The defense came through clutch. There was, how many times did we see an interception right there in the red zone? I thought Kentucky did just enough on defense to stay in this ball game the entire time, and just, you know, lean on what got them there, that running game, and Will not making too many mistakes. So this was a hell of a game, man, and if you didn't get to watch it, you missed one.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were aware of this or not, Shane, but DeAndre Square, the linebacker, he got injured in the game. He says the medical staff said, you know, you got to sit out. You cannot go back in, but they needed him late in the game, and hell, he went out there anyway. He's the one that got the game-winning interception to close this thing out, and I mean, that if that doesn't epitomize what Mark Stoops and this Kentucky football program is, I don't know what does here. And hell, they got their linebackers coach, squares coach, position coach already been named, already been introduced down at Troy as the new head coach, John Summerall. He came back. You know, there's a clip going on after the game, you know, basically in tears saying, this is why I came back. This is why I, you know, wanted to coach through the bowl game, is for kids like us here that just gutted it all out for Kentucky.
Limping, had to miss the third quarter, didn't quit to make that play at the end. My God, what a stud. So I came back to coach that kid and to watch him make that play. Made my year. Made 2022, now I got to win some games somewhere else.
Man, I'm getting fired up, Shane, because I'm just looking at it, and I know the season is over, but there's so many teams here in the SEC with the arrow pointing up. And, you know, it feels like we're in like the golden age of SEC football. And man, I can't, this is before even Texas and Oklahoma come to the league. You know what?
No, the SEC pride. I think of Coach Mayer after this game saying so much the SEC's down. This is a grown man's league. Let's go. A lot of pride out there, man. Yeah, absolutely, man. Because this is what they're going to hear on the recruiting trail. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know a bowl game sometimes doesn't mean much to others, but if it can be used against you, it's going to be. Kentucky is a legit program. Kentucky's going to be here for a while. The foundation is made. You're 10-3. I mean, come on. Why wouldn't you want to finish your season strong? So this was just a great game. And like I said, start to finish, there was no quit in this team, and that was obvious. And that's why they win. That's why they won, man. This was all heart right here.
Mark, you've obviously seen some great individual performances in your time here, but what Wandell did today, when there's so much attention to him and everybody knows you don't have a ton of receivers that you're trying to get the ball to, just can you contextualize how difficult it is to do what he did on that last drive?
Yeah, John, it is really hard to describe, you know, what he's meant to us. He is the ultimate competitor, and you know, he's very selfless. He plays extremely hard. He plays, you know, the game for himself, for his family, for his teammates, for this institution, his state. You know, just plays so hard, made such competitive plays in big moments. And that's what you need to win a bowl game, to beat quality opponents. You need your guys to step up and make plays when you need them. And he certainly did that. I believe that was in the second quarter of the long conversion, the diving catch, you know, heck of a throw by Will, not much open, you know, on the whole field. And they had us in a bad spot, 3rd and forever, and Will makes a tremendous throw, and Wandell lays out and makes that catch, and we get that 3 there. I thought that was very big to convert on some points there.
This is your fourth consecutive bowl win, and this is multiple times where you guys have came down to the final couple drives. What does it say about your program and the resilience of your teams to fight till the end to win these bowl games?
We're used to that. We've won a lot of close games. I think it comes down to our players caring about, each other, having a toughness, having a resiliency about you, respecting the game. We talked about playing the game, with honor, and, they do that. These players do. This is a player-led team. These two guys right here are new to our program, but they have had an enormous impact in our program and fit right in and become leaders and, really, made a big difference this entire year and made a very big difference today.
Yeah, and speaking of all hearts, Shane, I mean, my goodness, South Carolina goes in, huge underdog against North Carolina in the Duke Mayo Bowl, and the Gamecocks dominated, Shane, 38-21, jumped out to 18-0 lead, and North Carolina was just basically trying to hang on and claw back the entire way, couldn't do it. And how about this coaching staff, Shane? These offensive staff, Marcus Satterfield, Justin Stepp, the receivers coach. Marcus Satterfield been getting called out left and right. Everybody wants his ass gone. Man, they dialed up a beautiful game plan here, putting a receiver at quarterback to carry on Joyner. He had the game of his life.
Yep.
He outplayed Sam Howell, who may be a first-round draft pick here. And, man, I'm just stunned that this happened, Shane. I mean, this is what we were kind of expecting from South Carolina, but this was their best performance. And maybe, playing out the season, having these this is why making a bowl game is so big, because you lose your regular season finale against your arch rival, you're going to have a bad taste in your mouth. No one gives a shit about that now because we just won an epic performance.